Elemental Sandstorm. Today we're going to be looking at an augment mod for Inaro. It's kind of an old mod. Recently it got reworked. By recently I mean a few months ago, but nobody really has any information on this ability or this augment for the ability, which is a shame because it's fun and it actually changes Inaros to kind of have a playstyle. What? An actual playstyle? Crazy, I know, right? So before we get into it though, I do have two cast speed shards. The other ones kind of don't really matter. Some strength here. Well, I guess that actually matters, but anyway, this is not really a build video. This is more so a guide on Sandstorm, its accompanying augment elemental Sandstorm, and how to build a stat stick for this ability. So this augment mod essentially says you have increased range and your 3 is now a pseudo exalted that scales with melee mods. It should be shorter. It's overly descriptive. It's kind of lying right to your face, right? Like it says that it scales with your melee weapon and the mods, but it's kind of lying to you, kind of telling you the truth. And we'll learn why in a little bit. But for now, let's learn about the ability that this is accompanying or accompaniment to. So Sandstorm, equally a vague description, and it doesn't mention a couple things. Some of the things it doesn't mention is that it has a vacuum, so that 18-meter radius becomes a vacuum, which is pretty useful, considering that stuff like Hunter Adrenaline that regens your energy when you're damaged. Like a lot of the regen energy abilities are paused when you're in Sandstorm. So I use Equilibrium so that the second I come out of my Sandstorm, I'm just the tank is gassed. We're fine. We're good to go. Whereas this would still I'd need to take more damage. So I really like Equilibrium on Inaros. Works great with the synth mods. Now, in addition to having a vacuum on this ability, it also oddly enough, gives you a 50% damage reduction, which you'd think it would say something that's that important. 50%, that's kind of a lot. Like stacked with adaptation, stacked with your already 65% if you have the Umbral mods, this one's not even maxed. And a lot of people have whack builds where they put like they put like these Carnus and the like you don't need that stuff. He's already like is almost 7,000 health. Not enough for you. Ugh. Anyway, this is not really a build video. More so for this. So like I said, we have the vacuum. We have the 50% damage reduction. Increases the range. So we have 18-meter range, which is it's range. The speed multiplier, damage multiplier are not affected by anything, unfortunately. I think kind of a missed opportunity that you could maybe make it scale with duration or something, unique. Make it fun, but whatever. And then the final thing is the actual augment down at the bottom. Now it says the range we can see, but the status chance 157. A lot of people don't understand what status chance is. People want crit damage, and they think that that's all any weapon could ever be built to be. But if the status that's being applied is damage, it's damage. So if you're applying slash, maybe even heat, you're applying damage. So that status chance equates to raw damage. Now, what's important to note is that you see how it's 157%. That's with it scales perfectly with your power strength. So it's nice and easy and brain dead, which is how everything should be on a Naros to understand like what your percentage you're at. So you do really, really, really want to get to the 200%. That's like the sweet spot. The 200% is where it's cranked. You're really firing on all cylinders, which, I have growing power and molt augmented, which increases your strength up to 60%. So we're over the 200% marker for status chance. Additionally, something that holds this move back is that it has a long cast speed. There's cast in, cast out. Cast in, cast out. Mind you, I have 50% cast speed reduction because of my Archon shards. This is normally 1.5 seconds in, 1.5 seconds out. 3 seconds in cast speed is huge. I would highly recommend putting some cast speed on him. Most people don't. It really makes everything so much nicer on him. The only thing it doesn't do, again, this is not a build video, but a quick little tip, it does not make your Scarab Swarm charge faster, which is really dumb. So yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of the actual ability. And what it does, it spins counterclockwise too, if you wanted to know that. But now let's get into the stat stick, which is the most important part of that ability, because that ability would be nothing if you didn't have a stat stick. So I'm using the Neferi. I called mine the Blades of Osiris, my Tornados stat stick. So a stat stick essentially is the weapon itself is inconsequential. It's the mods on the weapon and the distribution. And fuck the mods even. It's the distribution on the weapon. So that's part of why I'm using the Neferi. The Neferi naturally has decent slash, and it has innate heat. Innate heat. So the heat's already on the weapon before you ever even touch it. Now, I do have a cracked ribbon for it. Use what you have. If you are not using what you have, you're going to have a bad time because you're always going to be chasing the Kuva ribbon. You're always going to be chasing the Celtra ribbon. You're going to be chasing ribbons for weapons that aren't even that much better than other weapons, and they're like 5 times the price. So you can get really good weapons for a lot less. And you may be wondering why I have minus puncture. A lot of people think minus IPS, impact puncture slash minus physical damage types is bad. Like it's good usually. In most cases it's good. So if I didn't have this minus puncture, my puncture damage would be competing with these other damage types. All of these other damage types besides the impact are better than puncture. So we don't want puncture. We don't want it at all. But so we have a solid amount of slash. We have viral. If it was my way, I'd have even less viral. See, these are not ranks. If I could have even less viral, maybe even like just a solid 100 would be sweet, but it is what it is. And then we have heat, which is naturally on the weapon. I have no mods for it, which is very nice because it's diluting the viral a little bit. Sure, it might be diluting the slash a little bit, but it is a damage type which helps condition overload. It helps to prime Cascadia Flare for secondaries, which is the main reason I use it. But it again, it's damage, right? It's damage and a little bit of armor reduction. It helps gun CO, so I feel like it's just a great benefit to have this in addition to slash. You could get an innate viral weapon and then apply whatever you want on it, like some of the, I think it's the Plague Zaw, some stuff like that. So you can do better and different stat sticks. Just know that this combination is more so for damage. So you could do crowd control, you could do gas electric for lots of procs everywhere and lots of crowd control. You could do rad. Radiation's one of the better ones because once you're done with the tornadoes, they're still confused for a couple seconds. Now, I do believe that this the stats that this are applying are hard capped. So by hard capped, I mean status duration. This won't give you any duration to my testing. It's a complete sham. There's a hard capped timer on the ability itself, to my knowledge. So you can still do heat inherit though. So say you hit an enemy with heat and then use the ability, it'll keep proccing that initial like damage number. So there is that. You can do heat inherit stuff with it, which is very interesting, and another reason why I have heat on here. So for your uses, you may want to do radiation, because radiation is better for CC. That way when you're done, they're still procced. But this is the best way for damage, and my entire build's based around damage. It's very highly based around if you have a CC frame or another frame accompanied to you, of course, your backline support, right? So if you had a Wisp with Breach Surge and Roar, holy shit, the damage you're going to do is nuts. If you have... What else could you have? You could have a Koro with a big dome, and it makes so much easier on Koro to kill stuff because it's all dangling off the bits and whatnot. So let's get right into the mods. Again, these are unranked. We have the critical chance, finisher damage, and critical damage are doing nothing for the stat stick, but excellent for Inaros. Great for Inaros. Prime Fury, this is solely for convenience. Making the executions faster from his 1, and just melee faster in general. It's not affecting the tornadoes in any way. Same with this. This is a little bit of slash for the tornadoes, but mostly for, because it's part of this weapon, it gives us melee damage, which is for convenience with the slash. And the teleport to target using heavy attack, excellent because we're going to be using heavy attacks to proc dispatch overdrive. I know I said you can't change the movement speed of the tornadoes, but that's the ability movement speed. You can change your movement speed, which you'll be faster while using the tornado. So that's what this is for. And then this is also kind of for convenience, but also kind of for I want that slash. And then this is just the raw slash. So mostly slash, a little bit of heat, a little bit of viral. So that's the long and short of the build. And again, your Cascadia Flare can work on your secondary. We're not going to really worry about that too much. So in order to test it, you may want to test your distribution for the, when you're trying to put together a stat stick, you want to be like, is this gonna make the damage better or worse? It's very hard to tell sometimes, especially with this ability. There's not really much on it. So we're just gonna bring him right into the corner. I'm using a operator arcane called Magus Anomaly, I believe it's called, but you can group with other things. But the reason we're getting into this corner right here is because we want consistent numbers. It's hard to understand if you're doing more or less damage when the numbers are varied and inconsistent. So again, when you use the 3, the enemies go counterclockwise. So we're going to use it right here, and they're going counterclockwise. Part of why you want to use it here too is because you don't lose the big group. Like they come back into this little ball here, and you see those procies. Those numbers getting bigger and bigger. We're going to learn why in just a sec, but look at, you got some nice procs there. See, that's some nice solid damage. That's without growing power. That's without my arcanes going cracked. That's without any sort of roar or the conjunction survival damage buff guy. That's what I'm saying. We're not even at the 200% mark, and we're getting that. But to be devil's advocate here, that was a full bar. A full bar of energy. Now, when you're comparing your stat stick builds, when you come out of your mod screen, it'll see how it's resetting my energy to 125. Sometimes it'll reset it to 130. Sometimes it'll reset it to 140. I don't know why it just randomly resets to a number, so just get a habit of always clicking this. So what you do is, we're going to kill them, and we're going to do one more test. Whoops. One more test. Again, we're going to show you how to get them in the corner. Just use your operator with the arcane. If you don't have it, you could probably use ensnare, air burst. I would stay away from messing with the actual power strength because that could affect, the damage numbers you see. If anything, when you're testing, you may want to increase your damage, even if it's not something you're going to actually run, just to see like what the numbers are doing. So now you don't even have to worry about the orbs on the ground messing with the test results either. So we're just going to spin. Because otherwise, like, if you could pick up orbs while in the 3, it would be like, fuck, my whole test is ruined. I killed an enemy and they dropped an orb. But you see, as I said, you see the ticks on their names or whatever, they're ticks on the top of the screen. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's not actually doing more damage, that's more procs. So it's not going to represent a million little proc icons, so it's just giving a bigger number, even though like you see 13s, 16s, 20s. So yeah, the bigger number there is more status procs there. Like I said, more status. If the status is damage, it's damage. So when you got roar, anything else to buff this, it's insane. But again, we're not past the 200% mark. And we're gonna do one more little showcase. It might not show much, but we're gonna do a little showcase before we leave of something that could be useful. So Archon Vitality, it applies a heat damage twice. So in order to make this work on Anaros, it does work on him. I'm gonna equip my Coruscating Cacoethes. There's a video of it on my channel. It's got some heat damage. Not the best weapon for this, but hey. You do your own test video. So, again, we're going to get them to the corner. Come on, come on. And now growing power is going to proc now too, so the damage is going to be even a little more, whatever. But, so I'm just going to shoot it once and then spin to win. So see, we're much higher for the most part, damage numbers, the ticks, because that first shot is being replicated over and over because of Archon Vitality. Well, because the heat inherit and Archon Vitality is double applying all of them. So we killed 5 enemies there, I think. Yeah, see 35s, look at those procs, it's nuts. Yeah, that's the heat inherit on Anaros. Actually doing damage. And you may thinking, like I said, oh, that's a full bar of energy, so it's not really impressive. Well, kind of is, because again, it's just to really reiterate it, we didn't have this cranking, we're not at 200% yet. And in addition, you can even use like Xeneric, or not Xeneric, but you can use other things to buff the power strength. When you use this, and then you use this, there we go. Hardened Wellspring, I'm getting 20% extra damage here, so you can do even higher damage and really get scraping. So yeah, this is how to test your stat stick for Naros, how the stat stick works with his three, and the augment for you. Should you have any questions, concerns, I think you should just post mail it to the garbage can. Goodbye.